Welcome, everybody, to It Tastes Different Game Reviews. What we're reviewing today, Fatal Frame, Mask of the Lunar Eclipse. Fatal Frame, Mask of the Lunar Eclipse is a survival horror game developed by Tecmo, Nintendo, SPD, and Grasshopper. The fourth installment in the Fatal Frame series, and the first one on a Nintendo console that was released in 2008. So this is a rehash, or as Nick calls it, one more time. All right, it is out on Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, 5, every version of Xbox, the Wii, your mom's Chromebook. I mean, it's everywhere. As I said, it's developed by Koei Tecmo, Grasshopper. It's got pretty much everybody put their finger on it. It is a Fatal Frame game. If you played one, I'm pretty sure this is going to feel familiar. So, I think we should go to Nick first, because not only has he probably played every Fatal Frame, he probably lives for it. He's probably got a stamp somewhere on his body. So, Nick, Fatal Frame, what do you think?
Yeah, I haven't played every Fatal Frame. Actually, I haven't played a lot of Fatal Frames. This Fatal Frame is, just to give some clarification, this one did come out on the Wii, but it only came out on the Wii in Japan. So this is the first time it's actually getting a US release. Is this remaster of it, right? A re-release of the game. They did remaster some things that, of course, the Wii is pretty old technology. So if you look at the game, the character models look like they've done a pretty good job with the character models. The textures on walls and various things, some seem to be updated and some do not, right? It's just kind of like a mix and match, but you can definitely tell it doesn't look like a Wii game, right? But in the control aspect, it can kind of play like a Wii game. Whereas you would think they have you do the right stick as moving the flashlight around, but it doesn't work so well. And I think the intention was, back on the Wii, you would use the Wiimote to move the flashlight around, right? And then use the nunchuck to move your character, which would make a lot of sense. And that sounds like a pretty cool idea for the Wii. But in this case, when translating that to a controller, the right stick becomes practically useless, and it tries to move the flashlight around, but it doesn't do a very good job of it. But yeah, this is the fourth entry, like Shane said, into the Fatal Frame franchise. We got Maiden of Blackwater before, which is actually the fifth entry, so it's kind of weird. They're going backwards here. But again, this is Maiden of Blackwater we did get here in the US, whereas this one we did not. So it is nice that we get a game that within the Fatal Frame series that we never did get here in the US. That's cool. I wish Koei Tecmo would just make a new Fatal Frame. I think a lot of people out there that like the Fatal Frame franchise would probably just like to see something new, not just rehashes of what's already come before, right? But yeah, this game it's okay, right? The controls are pretty bad. They can be. They're really hard to get used to. I don't think there was a point where I didn't accidentally snap a picture when I didn't mean to, or bring up my camera when I didn't mean to, or, turn a different direction when I didn't mean to, things like that. So it definitely has a lot of, I wouldn't say bugs, not necessarily bugs, but just a lot of improvements that the game could have that it needs, right? Some of the good things are, like I said, the character models look really nice. There's only 3 characters that you go through the game as. There are other characters that you meet and stuff like that, but you play through the game as 3 characters primarily. There is a 4th one that at the very beginning that you play through that's a very short time frame. And then you play through 3 other different characters throughout the rest of the chapters, or phases is what they call them. So basically, 2 of them use the camera, which, if you're familiar with Fatal Frame, you got the cameras, and then one of them uses a flashlight, which uses the moon's power to kill the ghosts with, whereas the other ones use the camera obscura, which is a part of the Fatal Frame franchises, using the camera. And of course, the camera you can upgrade, just like all Fatal Frames. You can upgrade the power of the cameras and the lenses. You get several different lenses as you play through the game that do different things. You can upgrade the lenses and upgrade the power of the cameras and the power of the flashlight with these little blue gems and red gems that you find throughout the game. But like I said, the game is, it's a survival horror game. It's a very slow game, right? Let's put it there. It's a very slow game. As you're going through different areas, you do have a run button, but the run is like a power walk more than it is a run. So you don't really run. And, when you open doors, your character has to go through the animation of opening the door before you can actually go through it. This game also has some weird quirks where it will play some sound animations before, or some sounds for animations before the animation actually triggers. I notice that a lot with doors. Like when you go up to the door, I know if a door is going to open or not because I can hear the sound of the door opening before the door opens. Because there's a lot of locked doors where it tries to prevent you from going in there until you've done something, right? And then later on, you can go through that door. So if I go up to a door and I don't hear it before the person even puts their hand on it, I know, that door is going to be one that I can't go through. So ultimately, though, this game, it's okay. You got to have the certain type of person that enjoys these types of games. That's going to enjoy something like Fatal Frame, or like this Fatal Frame in particular. I don't think this is really one of the greatest Fatal Frames. There are, like I said, some good things. Going through the investigation of the island, you're on this little island, going through there, uncovering the story, which the story is, in the end, it makes sense, but you're kind of going through going, I don't know what the hell's going on here. It kind of gives you snippets, flashbacks, and various things to try to piece the story together, as well as writing text that you read through. But exploring the island is really neat, and the ghosts you encounter and kind of the different story elements that happen, and going through the different perspective of 3 different characters and kind of uncovering the mystery of what's going on and why they're there. That's a fun part of it, as well as the combat. The other parts that's not fun is the controls are very frustrating. Combat, while it's fun, can be frustrating because it's fun to use the photo cam to snap pictures of ghosts and do damage to them, but at the same time, you're fighting the controls. You're like, I see the fun's there. Just, I wish these controls would let me have it, right? Because at certain times it is. Sometimes you get the controls down and you're snapping pictures and killing ghosts and you're having a good time. And other times you're fighting the controls to turn or open a door or do something just normal. So, this game's middle of the road. It's got some good things and some bad things. If you're a big Fatal Frame fan, you'll probably enjoy playing this, especially since it was never here in the US. And now it's finally here, so you can play through one of the series installments that you haven't played through before. But if you've never played a Fatal Frame game, maybe try out some of the other ones. I don't know. I think Maiden of Blackwater controlled a lot better than this one, but it is what it is. That was also that one was actually a Wii U game, so they didn't have to quite rely on the remote for that one. But anyway, that's what I think about this one. Pat, what do you think?
Yeah, everybody's gonna hate me, but I hate this game. But I'm not a fan of this type of game. So don't take anything I say to heart because I don't care for the Fatal Frame series at all. And this game is right up the alley with that for me. It's way too slow. The games are way too slow for me. I don't like horror games in general, but I don't mind like some jump scare stuff or whatever here and there. But this game's not even really that scary outside of maybe a couple of jump scares where something comes out of something you weren't expecting it. Outside of that, it's whatever. But it just is super slow. I can't get over like moving from one area to the other. It's like it's like I feel like I'm a shambling zombie half the time, and I'm trying to run, and they walk like they take like half-inch steps to walk, and then when you're running, they take full-inch steps, and I'm like, come on. So getting and traversing in this game is massively horrible for me, and I can't stand it. I don't have that much patience, and that's what I should say, is that patience is what you're going to need for a game like this. Because the capturing ghosts and stuff is a cool concept, and the flashlight and all that stuff, but I can't do it. It's just too slow for me. The movement drives me absolutely insane. And the controls, and they said, there's times I'm walking backwards, and I'm like, how the hell am I walking backwards and still facing forward? I can't figure out what the hell's going on here. And it's because of that stupid right stick, when you're doing the investigation modes. Luckily, the controls are a little better when you're in combat versus investigation, but it's still, investigation is a lot of the game. And so I'm like, no. So it was really hard for me to play this game. And I'm not a fan of the Fatal Frame series. So it really, I really wasn't expecting much for this game, but it still let me down. So I didn't have high hopes for it, but it still let me down on the expectations. So, but that's my opinion. And I'm not a fan of the series. So if you're a fan of the series, you might as well just ignore everything I say, because you're probably going to love the game because it's your type of game. This is just not my type of game. It is what it is. I'm just not a fan. There's plenty of fans out there who love the game series, and that's fine. There's plenty of people who hate games that I love and vice versa. So, me, not a fan, don't like the controls, don't like the slow movement, and stuff like that. And it's so annoying, and of playing that. And you go back and forth through areas so many damn times, because you go through one area and you're like, oh, there's like 4 locked doors, and you go on and you get to the door you need to, and you're going to pass those same 4 doors to go all the way back to where you just came from, to go upstairs and do this thing. And then you're going to come all the way back to get into one of those 4 doors, and you're going to leave and you're going to come back. And I'm just like, no, so, and that's it. I am so tired of that. I shouldn't say tired. I just can't deal with that. So that, for me, this game's a no, but that's just because it's not my play style. Shane, what about you, man? Did you love Fatal Frame and taking pictures of all those sexy ghosts?
Sexy ghosts, yes. Love taking the pictures, no. I'm gonna have to agree with you on most of this, Pat. I was not thrilled by it. I have the original, and I popped it in before I started on this one, so I played 20 minutes or so. The original played better than this. It really does. The movement, I have to agree, Pat, is it's not just because you move so slow. It's because the movement makes no frickin' sense. It really doesn't. So this is your character walking. Arms, everything, just walking. This is your character running. Like the legs go nowhere. It's like watching a penguin try to move and hold a shit in at the same time. It looks ridiculous. I hate it. I don't. The original didn't even walk like that. The original had more of a tank control, but not quite Resident Evil tank control. But it's more on the tank control side, and they've continued that rhythm through the series. So I wouldn't have. I mean, even the last one I played, the 5th one, which is now the 6th one, or however the math works when you do a remaster of an older game before the newer game. And anyways, so no, I wasn't enjoying this game at all. The first thing I noticed was how pathetic the controls were. Trying to do the flashlight, the camera didn't even seem to work as proper, and that's the main. I like the combat to a point, but I had too many issues with the camera. Trying to do the controls on it, I should say, not the camera itself. The jump scares were minimal at best. I mean, very, very minimal. Because like Nick said, you could hear some things ahead of time. If you were approaching a door with glass in the frame, it's all musty and stuff. You could see crap there. I mean, you could see where the imprint of the image is going to be that's supposed to go, ooh. It was, it was bad. They really, this series used to be fantastic. I loved 1 and 2. 2 was, to me, is still the best one. I would love to have that, but they need to give it the Resident Evil treatment. They need to revamp it, fix the controls, tighten up the movement. And when you run, your legs actually separate a little bit further, it needs an overhaul for the new generation, because it's still 2 generations behind. And that's being generous. And I disagree, Nick. I thought the character models kind of look like crap. I think
you look like crap.
I think they look like beefed up, PS2. The polygons have been smoothed up a bit. That's really the way I saw it. the backgrounds, I think they should just go back for a game like this. They should go back to the FMV backgrounds and just leave it at that. Those are, to me, were much better, in my opinion, of course, because these are opinions. So if you don't like them and disagree, that's cool. We have no problem with it. I wish I wish out of everything that they could have fixed, out of anything, was that right stick, because it kept screwing with me so much. It's just it's almost broken. It makes you question your controller. I mean, it just doesn't work right, and you're required to use it. So use it if you can, but you can't use it because it does not control right. I don't know if it doesn't want to work with camera angles or whatever they've tried to fix, but it doesn't work, and it's pretty disappointing for me overall. I could not recommend this game. I would definitely rather have the Wii U version or the Wii version, because that, with the Wiimote and stuff, at least it's more interactive. So when you're running, at least you can do this. But I couldn't recommend this game by any means or measures. Even if you're a fan of the series, I apologize, but I was not happy with it whatsoever.
Yeah, I think this game was made, like I said, it was made originally for the Wii, and I think that's still the case with it, right? I think that translation to newer controllers and new consoles, they still kind of left that Wii type of control scheme and various things like that. Because moving at that speed in the game with the Wiimote and the nunchuck makes sense, right? Because you're looking around and stuff like that, so you kind of need that slower movement when you're utilizing the Wiimote and the nunchuck, right? Because it's a different type of control scheme, so it makes more sense. Plus, you're going to look around with it and various things like that. Where in this, it's just not the same, right? You don't need that, and that translation, I think, of trying to utilize the flashlight with the right stick just did not work at all. It just doesn't work. It actually, I just stopped utilizing the right stick at all. I just took my thumb off of it completely, because if I touched it, it would just screw something up. So yeah, I agree. I think if you're going to play one of the newer ones, like if you don't have access to one of the older Fatal Frames and you want to play a Fatal Frame, I think Made in the Blackwater is probably going to be a better option than this one. That one controlled a lot better than this one. They all are remakes, right? Or remasters, I should say. They're not remakes. Made in the Blackwater is the fourth one, and then this one's the fifth installment of the series. So yeah, they released the fourth one or the fifth one before the fourth one. The other way around, right? This is the fourth one, right? I can't remember now. I'm getting all confused. Anywho, it's one of the ones. Yeah, it's the fourth one. So it's the fourth one. They released the fifth one before. Now they're the fourth one. But yeah, I agree with you, Shane. I think they should do, and like I said at the very beginning, I think the best thing for Koei Tecmo, if they're going to start bringing out Fatal Frames, right, re-releasing these old Fatal Frame games, just make a new one. Just take Fatal Frame into the new century, right? Take it into the new platforms, like recreate Fatal Frame from the ground up and make it, because you're exactly right. The original Fatal Frames are awesome games. And if they could just take that and say, let's reboot it, like Capcom did with Resident Evil and some of the other franchises out there, I think that Fatal Frame could start to become a popular franchise again among people out there playing it, right? They could do some really cool stuff with the modern technology we have nowadays, instead of just rehashing the old Fatal Frames, especially the Wii ones, right? The ones that didn't come, well, that this one didn't come to the US, but the other one did. But still, stop rehashing them. Just make new ones.
Yeah, they really disappointed with this, because I really do like the series overall, but the last few have just been, kind of set in the past, and they need to bring it to the future. But I mean, if they're gonna, they might as well have brought that damn thing over to Kinect. As little as they really did with it. Because there was no generational leap in any way. You could have put that same game. You could put this same game on PlayStation 2 again, probably, with even with the updated graphics. So I was really disappointed. And one thing I definitely agree with Pat. It's the very beginning is really boring. It picked up its pace a couple hours in, but it was really boring. It was hard to get there. But you guys got anything else to say before we end this photo shoot? All right. So as you can see, we are not the biggest fan, especially me and Pat, but there is some love from Nick, so we'll give it that. And if you guys have any thoughts, feelings about our thoughts and feelings about this game or any of the series, tell us what you think. Let us know. Also, make sure you like, you share, you subscribe, hit all the little notifications and things like that. And until next time, see ya.